Is the Bible trustworthy? Archaeology Part 2. Repeatedly and consistently, archaeology has confirmed titles, names of local rulers, time periods, and landmarks. These, once thought to be fiction, are now considered fact. In the last video, we looked at 4 archaeological finds that prove some aspect of Old Testament history. Now let's look at 4 finds that prove some aspect of the New Testament. The Pool of Beceda. The Pool of Beceda in Jerusalem was the site of Jesus healing a paralyzed man, as recorded in John 5:2-11. In 1956 and the years following, this pool was uncovered and found to match exactly John's description in John 5:2. Here's what John writes, quote, "Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Beceda, and which is surrounded by the 5 covered colonnades." Portions of the 5 porticos, which are roofs supported by columns, have been found and can be seen today, and they are just what John describes. The Galio Inscription. In Delphi, Greece, a stone inscription was found that mentions a Roman governor named Galio of the province of Achaia. This inscription contains a Roman date corresponding to 52 AD. Galio is the same governor that Luke wrote about in Acts 18:12. He said this, "While Galio was proconsul of Achaia, the Jews made a united attack against Paul and brought him to the tribunal." Being able to tie Governor Galio to the year 52 AD has enabled scholars to pinpoint exactly when the Apostle Paul was ministering to the early Christians in Corinth. The John Rylands Papyrus. We've said several times that the Dead Sea Scrolls was the greatest of all archaeological finds, proving the accuracy of the Old Testament. But perhaps for the New Testament, the John Rylands Papyrus ranks near the top. In 1920, a British traveler in Egypt acquired a small fragment of papyrus in which later scholars discovered the writing on it was from the Gospel of John. The words on it are from John 18:31-33, 37-38. It's part of a codex dated from AD 125. Now scholars believe that John wrote his Gospel around 90 AD, and that means that this little fragment is only 35 years from the original. This means we have a copy within 1 generation of when John wrote his Gospel. You might recall from former videos that for most ancient writings, the oldest copies are 800 years and more. You can see this on display for yourself at the John Rylands Library in Manchester, England. The oldest copy of John's Gospel, Papyrus 56. You might be objecting that the John Rylands fragment is only that, a tiny fragment. However, in 1956, the world learned of the existence of a copy of the Gospel of John, penned in Greek on papyrus sometime between 150 and 200 AD. 2/3 of John's Gospel has survived in what is known as Papyrus 56 and has been invaluable to Bible scholars to reconstruct the most accurate Greek text possible of John's Gospel. You can see this manuscript at the museum in Colny in Geneva, Switzerland. Now let's end these few archaeological examples with the finding of the oldest complete copy of the New Testament. It was discovered in 1844 by New Testament scholar Constantine von Tischendorf. In going through books belonging to an old monastery at the foot of Mount Sinai, he came across a codex made from fine quality sheepskins. To his astonishment, it was a complete copy of the New Testament dated from AD 350. It's called the Codex Sinaiticus and has proved vital to proving the accuracy of New Testament manuscripts copied down through the ages. In the next video, let's look at some prophecies of the Old Testament that came true in the New Testament as even further proof of the reliability and trustworthiness of the New Testament.